right, good evening. I thank you for having us and giving us an opportunity to go over a high-level presentation on what the VCB has been up to and what we're going to be doing. I will try to keep this pretty high level, but I do want to start with a little bit of a foundational information about why we exist and how we operate. So it goes back to the Minnesota State Statute, and it is, you have a copy of it in the packet. I'm not going to read it to you, but it basically says that if a city adopts the statute, they have to establish a tourism organization, and 95% of the taxes that are collected go to that tourism organization for the purpose of marketing and promoting the city as a tourist destination. So that's the statute that we operate on, and the process for collecting those tax dollars is every month the lodging properties add a 3% tax to all of the receipts that come in, so all the bookings that are less than 30 days. Those get collected by the city, and the city sends a check to us, to the VCB, for 95% of the total of those receipts. Then we invest that money. So just a point of clarification, the last bullet is pretty important. The VCB is actually funded by visitors, so it's not local taxpayers' money. It's not residents paying into this tax. So we're a little bit unique in that situation. So I want to make sure everybody's clear. Are there any questions on the state statute and how we operate? Okay. All right. Then we'll move on. So we are governed by a board of directors. We are a nonprofit of 501c6, and we have up to 11 board members. We do have a couple of our members here, Kathy Nichols from the American, Suzanne Simonson, and Sean Dowse is also on our board. So it is a cross-representation of lodging properties as well as businesses. We also have liaisons from organizations in town that we work with very often. It's a very collaborative relationship, and in our board meetings we do have Patty, Brent, and Sherry sit in, share their information about what's going on in their organizations, and I do the same at their meetings as well. And that's in an effort to really collaborate, make sure that we know what's going on in the organizations and there's not duplication and there is collaboration. And Patty and Megan are here in support of us as well tonight. So the vision and mission, it's pretty simple. So the vision is to increase the overnight stays to nurture a visitor-friendly atmosphere. The mission is to encourage business and leisure travelers to choose Red Wing as a year-round cultural, recreational, and meeting destination. And visitors are defined as persons who do not reside within the city of Red Wing and who are likely to stay overnight within its city limits. So that is the filter that we use in our decision-making for where we spend those dollars that we're given. Our focus. So when I started here about 3 years ago, it was pretty overwhelming when I came in and I saw everything that's going on, and in terms of targeting and how do we market Red Wing as a destination. So the focus is really on the abundance of activities, and it's broken out into the two segments, so leisure travelers and groups in corporate business. So for leisure travelers, there's the outdoor activities, there's the history, charm, we're really unique and easily accessible. For groups in corporate, easily accessible, that's very important to them as well. The affordability, free parking, accessible walking distance, amenities close by, and also that unique setting where people can come. They don't have to go far away, but they feel like when they come here that they are getting away for their retreats and their business, and they can focus on their business. They do appreciate that about us. Our targeting. So geographically, we're in the 5-state area. So within Minnesota, our biggest markets are Minneapolis, St. Paul, Rochester. Chicago is actually our second or third market, depending on the time of year on our Google Analytics. We have a lot of traffic from Chicago. So we do target Illinois as well as Wisconsin and Iowa. Demographically, we want people here that have time off and have money to spend. Behaviors and interests, very varied, but those are a list of a lot of different targets and segments that drive our marketing messages. So there's a lot of different things. We have a lot of different amenities, and those are kind of the big ones that we really focus on. Strategic priorities. So I've listed 4 priorities here. Well, the first one is enhancing the visitor experience. So when people are coming into or are considering a vacation destination, we want to be in that continuous loop to be at the top of their consideration set. So there's a lot of different things that we do. So our website is important for that. Our social media, we also track. So where are they in the decision-making point? If they abandon our website, we can see that. If they come back, we can see that. And we can remarket to them. So really understanding what's important to them, making sure our presence out there on social media, on our website, are addressing those concerns that they have the information to them in a timely manner when it matters to them, when they're ready to make that decision and book and come here. Second priority is to coordinate and learn from state and regional tourism efforts. So it's a funnel. So Explore Minnesota is the state organization. We drill down to a regional organization with southern Minnesota, and then even more sub-region is Explore Mississippi Bluffs. That's a partnership we have with Winona and Wabasha. So it's that kind of that continuous funnel and making sure that we understand what's going on in each one of those, and we can capitalize on all of our efforts and not duplicate. Third priority is to drive shoulder season and midweek traffic. So again, we do really well July through October. So how do we increase our travelers and our visitors' occurrences here during those shoulder seasons? It's a balance, because we don't want to spend a lot of money when we know people do not want to come out of their house when it's 20 below, it's snowing out. We don't want to waste our money, but we also have to understand that that's where the opportunity is. So we focus on the activities, really being more inspirational in our messaging to get people excited. We have a lot of great activities here in the winter. We just need to make sure that they know that, and we need to make sure that we're hitting them in a timely manner to get them to come out of their houses and come here. And the fourth one is support and collaborate with local efforts. So the small business revolution, nobody, I don't think, expected how big that was going to be. But it had a huge impact on the messaging, and the PR that we got out of that program was amazing. So having a seat at the table is really what this is about. So collaborating with the groups in town, the city, the organizations, and really understanding what benefits we can get out of this in the future, not just during that, but also afterwards. We have some construction projects. The last 2 years we had Highway 61. So making sure that the VCB is at the table and during those discussions, understanding the impact of the community and the businesses in here that we know need help. So how do we make sure that we're helping those businesses as much as we can? And also making sure our visitors understand how to get around and navigate our community when we are under construction without scaring them away. Super Bowl 52 is coming up next February. So what is the impact to Red Wing? We are within a 60-mile radius of the stadium. What does that mean for us? Where are those opportunities? So there's committees that we're forming to talk about that. The initial committee is really focused on the airport and what's the opportunity there. But there will be continued meetings and committees talking about what does that mean from our business standpoint? How do we maximize our benefit from this? Football is going to be a huge topic this whole season, from preseason all the way to the Super Bowl. So how do we capitalize on that? Also I sit on the ski jump steering committee, so making sure that we are connected with the opportunities there as well as the challenges. So I'm working closely with them to understand timing, impacts, and what are the opportunities from a tourism standpoint. It will absolutely impact Red Wing. How do we maximize that and make that a positive experience for people? And just everything else that's going on from an organizational standpoint, all the other events and promotions in town. So those are our priorities for this year. Red Wing partnerships. So I really see my job, I break it out into within the community and then outside of the community. So within Red Wing, again, collaborating with our organizations and groups in town to make sure we understand what's important so we can have the message out there and support our businesses and our communities as best we can. Outside of our community, tourism groups and our associations. Those are really important. Again, the funnel of Explore Minnesota, Southern Minnesota Tourism Association. I do serve on the executive and marketing committees of the Southern Minnesota. It's a regional group of 36 counties that has a marketing program, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. And then again, the Explore Mississippi Bluffs, smaller, regional, but I think there's a lot of opportunity, especially with the bridge construction coming up. How do we talk about that region as a destination and how to navigate around construction when the bridge is in full swing. And then, of course, associations north with corporate and business travel, and then education and training for us as part of MSA, or the Minnesota Association of Convention and Visitor Bureaus. That's a resource to make sure that we are up to speed on legislative issues, educational issues, and making sure that we're running our businesses as best as we can. So the impact of tourism in Minnesota, I understand this isn't a great slide on a presentation, but some of the interesting facts are that for every dollar that's spent and invested in marketing from a Minnesota tourism perspective, $9 comes back in tax revenue. That's a pretty impactful statement. The Goodhue, to drill it down a little bit more, Goodhue County, we have over 1,700 jobs just in Goodhue County that are attributed to hospitality and leisure. That's a big impact. It's over $5 million in sales tax. So tourism is definitely a big part of what we do here. So we want to make sure that we're doing it well. Drilling down a little bit more to specific, I just threw out some stats for last year. So over 9,000 people stopped into the visitor center last year. So those are in-person conversations that we're having with people who come into the visitor center. It's not meant to be an all-inclusive number. People always ask, how many visitors do we get a year? I don't have a number on that. These are just indicators. Over 4,900 individual visitor guides were requested from the visitor center, and we mailed those out. In addition to that, we had over 60,000 visitor guides were distributed throughout the state through various outlets. So through our visitor center, other communities as well. We do pay to be in the Mall of America, and we distribute at trade shows that I attend, other groups in the community attend, and also when people are coming here for their conventions. They want their attendees to have information, so we put together packets of information with visitor guides. We get guest passes from the chamber, information about our community to make sure that they can come here and experience it in their off time. For the next bullet is about our web stats. So last year, over 90,000 individuals visited our website. So that resulted in over 250,000 page views. Google Analytics is amazing. You can find out a lot of information. So I look at that directionally to see where are they going, where are they spending their time. So our most visited pages are our calendar of events, our things to do, our hot deals, and plan your stay, which makes sense. That is the chain, and that's the flow that we want. We want them to understand, hey, what's going on here, and move them down that funnel to plan your stay. And then again, we also increased our digital and social media efforts, really amping up Facebook and Twitter, and trying some new digital tactics with remarketing. So the numbers. So here's a chart with the last 10 years. I'm not going to go super deep into this, but since 2010, lodging tax receipts have increased every year. We had a very significant increase in 2015, about $26,000. Huge year for us. So comping up against that last year was a challenge. So we budgeted to not do as well as we did last year, and we came in at only about $3,000 down, which was really great. It was above our projections. The factors for why we think we did well in 2015, it's a little bit hard to get the precise data, but some of the factors were low gas prices, great weather, and we did change our marketing mix. We really shifted it from more traditional media to more digital. So those are some of the factors there, and we're continuing that. So far this year, we're trending to be slightly up this year, so the numbers are looking really good this year. I do budget pretty conservatively, so this year you'll see in the budget coming up. I budgeted our tax receipts to be $220,000, so that is down over last year, and that gives us the flexibility. So that's just a high-level breakdown of our revenue and expenses. So we'll go a little bit deeper. Where's the money being spent? We really have shifted our dollars to be a little bit more on the a lot more on the digital side, more measurable, so we understand a little bit more how our dollars are performing for us. We're really trying to maximize that effectiveness. Again, those are our focus areas. the coordinating the budgets with our other tourism organizations is an important thing that we do. So Southern Minnesota has a budget of about $28,000, and that's the 36 counties that contribute. So last week, I went to Goodhue County to their budget planning meeting and requested funding for the next 2 years, and they approved it. That's how Southern Minnesota tourism is funded. That along with grant dollars and co-op dollars from Explore Minnesota. So Explore Minnesota is really a resource for us as well from a funding standpoint too. So you can see the breakdown of what we're doing for Southern Minnesota. We're doing print, and we're doing some Pandora radio and some emails, behaviorally targeted emails. Geographically, we're doing 40% Northern Iowa, the 40% Metro, and we're doing a test market of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we're seeing how that does for us for probably the next 2 years. Moving down the funnel a little bit farther, Explore Mississippi Bluffs. We have a budget, that's the Winona and Wabasha and Red Wing partnership. We also contribute to that about $4,800 each community, plus we also get grant dollars to help supplement that budget. So it's about $18,000 for this year. So for Explore Mississippi Bluffs, we have a website. We do display advertising, behaviorally targeted emails, and native advertising. So some of that is testing and really understanding what benefits we're getting out of that. So I look at all of those things in conjunction with our plan. That is the current plan. It's not all inclusive, but those are the commitments that we have made. I realize it's an eye chart, but really it just chunks out where our efforts are, and it shows you over the year where we're really having a message out there for the communities. So we're spending the money. How do we know how we're doing? So performance indicators that we look at. Of course, the lodging tax is going to be in there. We also look at our leads. How many requests are we getting? How much activity are we getting in the visitor center? Again, analytics are so valuable. So our website analytics through Google, our Facebook and social media, on Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram analytics really tell us that we're getting, how much traffic we're getting, what's important to people, what they're reacting to, and what's important to them. That drives everything else that we're doing. We also track media coverage, so as much as we can, how much PR are we getting? Who's writing about us? Who's sharing this? Bloggers, writers, online photography, all of those things we're trying to track. It's a little bit loose, but we're really trying to track it and partner with people who are successful at that. And obviously, any promotions that we're running, we're measuring those as well. And of course, we're looking at feedback from our partners within the community. Online presence. So I kind of touched on this. So we do have the 2 websites that we maintain, redwing.org, and we also contribute to Explore Mississippi Bluffs. Social media, we have all those channels, and the rest of the digital pieces that we do. So this is a list of some of the recent and upcoming activity that we're having a seat at the table at. A lot of trade shows have happened already, but we do have some upcoming ones, both leisure category and business categories, so kind of a mix there. Partnerships outside of Red Wing, there are some things that are coming up, definitely sitting in on the Economic Development Committee, making sure that we're understanding where we can play, where we can support the Red Wing 2040 action, the economy plan, making sure, again, we're giving input there. And other projects that are coming up. So Welch Village is doing a mountain biking bike course that's going to be opening in a few weeks. So making sure that we understand how we can support them and any other businesses that are doing new things. And of course, we have our riverboats coming, starting at the end of July. So working with the chamber and making sure that we give our visitors from the boats a really great experience as well. So. That's pretty high level, so if there's any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? Peggy?
I don't really have a question, but I have a comment, and that's how much we appreciate Arloa's help at the Port Authority. She's there when we've got questions, when we need help, and assists with marketing, and is involved in talking about marketing and promotions for the airport, which is something we haven't really done in the past that we're looking at. So it's been a real pleasure, and VCB steps up to the plate anytime we ask them to.
Thank you.
questions?
I just got one. Just out of curiosity, have you got any projections from any of the hotels in town on if they're already filled up for the Super Bowl?
Not yet. The tricky thing with the Super Bowl is you don't know the teams until 2 weeks out.
Right.
So there's this mass activity that happens right before the Super Bowl, and not having the Super Bowl in a cold weather destination for a long time, there's some tricky things, especially with the airport. We were very excited at first, thinking this is going to be a huge impact on our airport. Well, some of the challenges being in a cold weather, people don't want to commit if you don't have heated hangars and if you don't have de-icing equipment. So that's going to influence. But it's also, if the other airports in the area are booked, we will be a destination if the weather is great. So we're going to have a plan. We're probably going to have plan A, B, and C. Yeah. I honestly am not worried about our lodging properties being full. I think they will be. I don't know that we need to do specials or do a lot of promotion around it. I think they're going to fill up, and the feedback that we've gotten is that they're comfortable with that too. The tricky thing, and one of the just on the Super Bowl, the opportunity that we think is worth exploring at this point is not necessarily targeting people who are in Minneapolis for the Super Bowl, but people who live in Minneapolis and want to get out. The escape plan.
Gotcha.
So they're going to want to rent their house out. They're going to want to avoid all the chaos. They don't want to get away. They want to get away. That might be a market, an opportunity for us. So that is one thing that we're exploring.
Thank you.
I'm afraid I know the answer to my question, but does Treasure Island pay the tax?
No.
That's what I thought you'd say.
Mayor?
Arloa, I just wonder, what are your feelings about the future of tourism in Red Wing?
I think it's very strong. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, there's a ski jump hill coming in, but even without that, I think it's strong, and I think people like Red Wing. I think it's just being top of mind for people and making sure that they understand what we have. The accessibility is really an important thing. When we hear visitors come in and talk to us every day, and it's positive. Even when it is construction and they have frustrations with that, they still love the town. So I think it's a matter of making sure that they still remember us. And and with the new things coming in, I think the mountain biking at Welch Village is going to be a huge opportunity. Mountain bikers travel. One of the things that we've talked about is in Minnesota, we all have a tendency of, oh, it's summer, let's go north, or even in the winter to go skiing. Where's our north? Iowa, Wisconsin, Chicago. We have that opportunity to tap into those markets all year round and make sure that they understand what we have. So I think it's very strong.
Yeah, I had just a couple of items. One for this city attorney. It seemed in the marketing, in the write-up, that there was some, it said that you thought it was a single entity. And I just, in this sub D 12 of the city code that was attached, it says every operator. And I just wanted to get some clarification on that, just for my knowledge.
Sure. We were looking at the statute in terms of that, because the city code is based on the statute.
Sure.
So we were looking at how it's worded in the statute is to fund a local convention or tourism bureau.
Okay. And then the only other thing I have questions about, there's open meeting provisions in here, but there don't seem to be data practices provisions. And that's something that should be considered.
Well, any data that they would send to us would be subject to the data practices, but their data would not be because they're not a government entity. That's the way I understand it.
Anything else?
Okay. So we have,
We good?
yeah, I think we're done with questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.